This special sacred symbol from ancient Egypt is called a Djed Column. You may see authors from previous decades or centuries refer to it as a Tot column or a Tot cross. T-A-T. It was associated with the god Osiris and specifically with the backbone of Osiris. Osiris was treacherously slain by his brother Seth and placed into a casket that was then sent out to sea. The casting down of Osiris into the sea and ultimately into the underworld is symbolized by the casting down of the Djed Column. This is an image of the goddess Isis receiving the Djed Column of Osiris after he has been slain and entombed. In Lost Light, published in 1940, Alvin Boyd Kuhn explains that the casting down of the Djed Column was associated with the fall equinox when the sun was cast down to the underworld, the lower half of the year, where the nights are longer than the days. However, every year there is a turning point where the cast down god begins to ascend, and ultimately the Djed Column, and thus Osiris himself, is raised up again. Thus the annual wheel itself has in it a cross, consisting of a horizontal line between the equinoxes, which creates an underworld beginning at the fall equinox, where the Djed Column is cast down, as well as a vertical line between the solstices, which represents the reascent and the restoration of the Djed Column, the raising back up of Osiris after he has been cast down. Now, Alvin Boyd Kuhn argues that this cycle is only seemingly about an external god, Osiris. It is in fact about each and every human soul, each and every divine human soul, and it symbolizes our experience on more than one level. He explains that the Djed Column or Tot cross is one version of a concept that is found in different forms in the various scriptures and sacred mythologies all around the world, and it symbolizes human life itself. He writes, "This most ancient, perhaps, of all religious symbols, by no means an exclusive instrument of Christian typology, was the most simple and natural ideograph that could be devised to stand as an index of the main basic datum of human life, the fact that in man the two opposite poles of spirit and matter had crossed in union. The cross is but a badge of our incarnation, the axial crossing of soul and body, consciousness and substance, in one organic unity, an animal nature that walked horizontally to the earth and a divine nature that walked upright, crossed their lines of force and consciousness in the same organism. The implications of this situation are all that the great symbol ever connoted." The same casting down and raising up can be clearly seen in the form in which these concepts are allegorized in the New Testament scriptures, which are very closely aligned to the form that they take in the Osiris myth of ancient Egypt. Remember, these are metaphorical pictures of the experience of the soul, not a literal representation. So we should not get hung up on the fact that Osiris, or maybe some of the other depictions in other parts of the world, are gods who are depicted as a male god, or a female god for that matter. The raised up Djed Column is associated with the upraised arms, as we see here in this image, which is also associated with the sacred scarab beetle in ancient Egypt. And we don't look at this winged scarab symbol and say, well, that excludes me, I'm not a scarab beetle. It's a picture, it's a symbol, it points to spiritual truths that have to do with the existence of the invisible realm of spirit, which is the actual origin of this physical, material, visible universe and of our own invisible divine spirit which comes down into this physical world according to these allegorical teachings. Also, these stories are not just about going back to the invisible realm after this life. That's one level. But they are also talking about raising the Djed within this material life as well. While we are in the body, we are supposed to remember what our material condition and the necessities of the physical universe often work to make us forget that we have a spiritual dimension and that we can make contact with the invisible realm at any time. In fact, that we are always in contact with it because it is part of and the actual source of everything we see in the material realm, and that we have the ability to call it forth in ourselves and to help raise it in the world around us. One word for this bringing forth of the invisible and the divine for the purposes of raising the spirit in ourselves, in others, and in the world is blessing. This ancient knowledge depicted in the sacred myths of the world in so many different forms, all of them related, has many incredible implications for our day-to-day life, implications that have the power to transform everything. The casting down of the Djed Column and the raising back up again is very clearly symbolized in one form of the ritual of baptism by immersion that's still widely practiced today. The baptism by immersion ritual depicted here, which you can still see today in many churches, has very clear commonalities with the Osirian casting down and then raising back up symbology. So this powerful symbol, present in different forms in virtually all of the world's ancient sacred mythologies, speaks of our eventual triumph and transcendence, but it is also a concept we can incorporate into our lives every single day, and maybe even every single minute.